very often you'll find it useful to set things up in Excel. So this little video is going to show you how to ensure that you get the most value from the time that it takes, because it's all about time. Here's an example. The question presented the data this way. It's very straightforward, and you're going to learn more about cost behavior, fixed and variable costs, in management accounting. But for now, the behavior is clearly given. We can see that sales in dollars is 10,000 units at $12 a unit, $120,000. And similarly, the variable costs are 10,000 units times $5 a unit is $50,000. We're told that the fixed costs do not change. We can see that net income before tax is sales in dollars minus variable cost minus fixed cost. And we can see that the tax is 20% of the income before tax. So $30,000 times 20% is $6,000. The net income is what's left over. So the first thing that you want to remember when you're working with Excel, unless there's a really good reason to do otherwise, keep the detail from the question. Here's an example. Someone's set this up in Excel, and you can see that it's got all the important information, but it also contains a common error. The preparer entered the data in column C, and they did that because when they typed the words in column A, they spilled over into column B. And when they tried to type something, for example here, all of a sudden they lost some of their words. And they didn't like that. But that's not how you fix this problem. You'll remember from previous videos, you simply want to make the column wider. And you'll probably remember this little trick because it's so cool. Little double-headed arrow, double click, and it'll automatically make it as wide as the widest data string. All right, so you've got some flexibility there. The user, the preparer rather, entered everything, just the numbers, just typed them in. And that's fine, except that it's going to really limit the usefulness of this little worksheet. So let's instead look at the relationships. We're going to use column B for helper cells. So we know that sales in dollars are sales times the selling price. And the selling price was $12 a unit. So let's type a formula in. Equals 10,000 times the selling price, $120,000. We'll do the same thing for variable cost. Variable costs are $5 a unit, so the total would be 10,000 units times $5. Remember, the fixed costs don't change, so just leave that. But income before tax is the total sales in dollars minus the variable cost minus the fixed cost. And we know that the tax was 20%, so use a helper cell, put the 20% in, and now we'll do a formula, 30,000 times 20%. Net income is just what's left over. Well, that was easy. Now, we could, and in fact, we should, do some formatting to make this easier to read. And how much formatting you do is sort of a function of what you're going to do with this worksheet, how important it is, how much time you've got, because it is always about time. But you see here where I've put the format in for this number, it's the same format I want for the rest, so I can double click on the little brush, and there we go. You notice I have a dollar sign there, but not here, and that's because too many dollar signs just make it really cluttered looking and don't make it easier to read. So we're going to just do that. When I look at it, I can see that the sales in units don't get added in, so maybe I'll do something to make them stand out and a little clearer that they don't add into these numbers. Similarly, I know that after fixed costs, that's a subtotal there. So I'll put an underline after the 40,000. And I'm going to put my top and bottom underline on the 24,000, and that looks pretty cool. So I'm going to make this even more useful. I'm going to select the first data input cell. I'm going to hold down the Control key and then select the rest of the data input cells. And now that I've got them all captured, I'm going to shade them all. And then I'm going to go to Formatting. And on the Protection tab, I'm going to untick Locked. And now they're unlocked. Okay. Now if I go into Protect Sheet, I don't need a password because this is for my protection. Now if I do that, if I try and change this cell that has a formula in it, I get an error message that tells me, you're not doing that. But I can still go in here and change the numbers in here. That makes it very useful. Now I still see some formatting I want to do, and to do some additional formatting, I'm going to have to unprotect the sheet. There is ways of protecting it and allowing for some formatting and stuff, but it's sort of advanced. You don't really need to know it right now. So let's go here and we go into Format. Different ways of doing the same thing, right? How's that? Looks pretty spiffy now, right? Looks like the original one. It's given us some helpful hints. Now remember, the strength of this is that now I can do a whole lot of analytical work. What if the sales were 12,000 units? What if the selling price was $11.50? What if the variable costs were $3? What would happen if the tax rate was 35%? And maybe my fixed costs might increase. I can change them individually. I can change them all. I can do a lot of work to see the effect on the bottom line, on the net income line. And that, of course, is called sensitivity analysis. You're going to do a lot of that. Here's a little helpful hint. If you set up a question, a homework question, using this kind of little format, you can do your work and then double check it using Excel. So perhaps the question was, what will be the effect on this if sales change? Well, you can do the math. And there's math and management accounting that'll tell you how to predict the net income. But then when you're done, you can come back to this little spreadsheet, change one number and say, yeah, I got it right. That's really helpful. So remember that when you're setting these things up, it's all about relationships. Thanks very much, and I hope this was helpful.